Reboots are the bread and butter of the entertainment industry. You have one successful thing that people love, so you just have to make more. And since the company owns the rights, they can do whatever they want with it. Like the many times Scooby-Doo got rebooted, and on one occasion, he got a red shirt. Needless to say, anything can happen in Hollywood. Upon seeing the trailer for the upcoming TMNT movie, I saw a lot of reactions. First, people said it was inspired by Spider-Verse, or at the very least pushed 3D further, in terms of style and extra-dimensional space. On the other hand, people were talking about April, one of the Turtles' friends, saying, oh no, she looks like that.
What do you mean by that?
Thinking more about the concept of rebooting a show, I wanted to focus on TMNT's iterations and make a definitive guide of what things need to say in order for the show to keep the same classic style, or whatever classic style means. Hello, I'm Daft Pina, and today we're going to be talking about Turts. And the closest thing I have to a shirt that matches is Mario. Well, Mario from like a ska band shirt that I bought, but we're talking about TMNT. Fuck. The first time I was introduced to the show was on 4Kids TV. Now, I didn't grow up with cable, so for channels, I didn't have much to work with. And with the internet being what it was in 2008, needless to say, if the show I was watching got taken off the air and put on another channel, I couldn't watch it. Yeah. TMNT 2003 was the first version I watched, along with the retooled 6th season, where they went to the future for some reason. In the last and final season, they changed art styles and tone again, and it seems they were just itching to reboot the series after 155 episodes and 6 years to work with. Although I was a fan of Kids WB more, I did like watching 4Kids TV for, well, TMNT and Sonic. So if something was boring on, say, Kids WB, I just switched to their channel, and watch that instead, I guess. Times were very tough back then. I can't believe I'm still alive today. I would get introduced to more TMNT stuff through the YouTuber Family Portis. Everything from the TV show, movies, live concert?
Have you ever skipped rocks on the water?
Yeah, between 1990 and 1992, TMNT had a studio album and concert called Coming Out of Their Shells, with a nice Pizza Hut sponsor. Donatello was on the keyboard, Leonardo on bass, Michelangelo was on guitar and vocals, and Raphael was everything else. To entice kids and parents, there was a promotional pic that looked straight out of an anti-drugs PSA. It was probably a tough thing for the actors to go through, you know, wearing those big-ass costumes and pretending to play the instruments. Imagine if they did this for Five Nights at Freddy's. I'd be in the front row. The tour would have a follow-up called Getting Down in Your Town, which sounds more like a tour for adults than anyone else. But with the clear popularity of the TV show, we also got a lot of bootlegs. My god, so many fucking bootlegs. And upon watching all of this, I thought to myself, come on, turtles that do ninja things and eat pizza? Bit silly. Now, the concept existed since 1984, so nearly 40 years. And much like MOP from my other video, let me tell you, a lot can change over time. The idea started out as a concept by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. They met in Massachusetts and worked on it together. Upon Eastman drawing a masked turtle standing of nunchucks, Laird wrote the words Teenage Mutant, and ideas were born. One idea was born. You know, I'd love to have been there to see that happen, or really any conception of idea, like Matt Groening drawing early Simpsons concepts on cocktail napkins. Oh god, Bart and Maggie look like they come out of a 90s edutainment game talking about the spelling bee. You know, the ones where you like click on things and make loud noises? Learning was fun back then. Or maybe I wasn't really learning, I guess. I mainly just kept clicking on things. The indie success of TMNT was interesting to read. In terms of superhero origin stories, they're inspired and parodying comics at the time. When drawing up the backstory of the characters, they gave them names from Italian Renaissance artists. Laird said it felt just quirky enough to fit the concept. And like Daredevil, the Turts are altered by ooze, and has a mentor called Splinter, which is a play on Stick, Daredevil sensei. The creators got money from a tax refund and a loan from Eastman's uncle, quite literally making the comics out of their own home. Advertising the series in Comic Buyer's Guide magazine, they sold 3,000 copies within a few weeks. 3 years later, they would license the Turts to Playmates Toys. Playmates then worked with Murakami Wolf Swenson to make a show. When it came to making a TV series, a few changes were made. While the original comic was black and white, the run also had some color here and there. The Turtles all had the same red mask, which was changed in the animated series to have better separation for the characters. The tone was more serious, so in translating to kids TV, they toned down the murder. Splinter stayed the same, as he was a rat that teaches the Turts things. As for April O'Neil, she was actually a computer programmer to Baxter Stockman. Originally based on April Fisher, the then girlfriend of Kevin Eastman, her design would radically change and she'd become a reporter instead. But this is to say that April had many design changes in the original comic series from Mirage Comics, which mainly had black curly or frizzy hair. In the series, they gave her blood orange straight hair. Okay. As for the Turtles' personalities, they were only slightly different. Michelangelo wasn't really funny, but just a bit happier than his brothers. Leonardo was calmer and more serious, and was the team's strategist. Also, Donatello was smart and Raphael was angry. In the show, in order to give them more defining characters, they exaggerated their personalities. There's also a bunch of side characters, but we'll get to them in like a little bit. Please wait.
You're wasting your time! You'll not get the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles to help you in your evil work! The
Don't you just love the way he delivers those noble speeches?
With TMNT being rebooted so many times, a lot of subtle changes would occur, such as whether Splinter was the pet rat of a sensei, or kind of was just always a talking rat, or the time when TMNT met a woman turd. Yep, the first reboot of the series at the 1987 cartoon one was live action. Ooh, called Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation. It only lasted one season. Within it, they quickly defeated Shredder, disbanded the Foot Clan thanks to help with Venus de Milo, and now they have to fight the Dragon Lord who escaped a magic mirror and wants to take over the Earth. Unfortunately, for any April or Casey fans, they were just absent from the series. The Incarnation's new character, Venus, was very much hated by Peter Laird. Giving some rules to follow when writing the Turts, director Kevin Monroe said, "There's absolutely no mention of Venus de Milo, the female turtle. You can't even joke about that with Peter. It's just one of those things he hates with a passion."
You ain't a ninja?
No, I am Shinobi.
You're a full-fledged mutant hottie.
Do not call me mutant or hottie.
You know, say what you will about the CGI and 2D versions, but please, no more live action shit. It's fucking uncanny. So for all the iterations, I devise a very basic list of criteria to see if your rebooted show checks off everything in order to be a TMNT thing. First we have Splinter. His is the easiest, as all he really needs to be is a rat and a teacher for the Turts. Next we have April. She's friends with the Turts. Yeah, that's kind of it, I guess. Not even being a reporter. In the 2003 series, she was actually a computer programmer again, so I can't really count that as a staple for her character. You know, because it keeps changing. Moving on from Master Shredder, he's a bad guy to the Turts. Sometimes Shredder knew Splinter as a human, sometimes as a rat, so to make it easier, he just kind of sort of knows Splinter. For the Turds, Leonardo is the leader, Michelangelo is the funny guy, Raphael the hothead, and Donatello does computers. And they all like pizza. Alright, so if you're making a reboot, if it has these basic things, you're all set. Just no Venus de Milo, of course. Okay, I know people will bring up April's race change in the comics, but actually this happens to a lot of characters, such as Baxter Stockman is sometimes black and sometimes white. This also goes for Bebop and Rocksteady, as in their human forms, they're usually black and white, but in the newest reboot, Bebop is played by Seth Rogen. Much like Shaggy's red shirt, anything can happen in Hollywood. In terms of intent, for Baxter Stockman, they actually made two different versions, both black and white. On Peter Laird's former blog, he mentions he really didn't have a particular reason why they chose the black version. As for April's original race, it actually depends on the creator you ask. Peter Laird is quoted as saying, "It depends on which co-creator of the TMNT you ask. If you ask me, I always saw April O'Neil as white. If you ask Kevin, I suspect he would say, as he has in a number of interviews, that she was a mixed race, much like his former girlfriend, then wife, then ex-wife, April." I suppose at the time, they really didn't think too much about it, as it really wasn't a big part of her character. A lot of the character appearances don't really matter unless it radically changes the character. Even with the swapping of whether or not April's a programmer doesn't really matter too much, as one of her other main characteristics is just being a human friend for the turtles. You know, helping them out and like doing stuff on the surface. The fun part about rebooting a property is that you get to have your own take on the everlasting cartoon, whether it be how the characters meet, the design of the characters, and how the arcs play out, of course. While the original Mirage comics is where all it started, many things change over time, and you must really think what makes a turtle a turtle. Again, another odd phrase to say. I mean, if we want to go about unfaithful adaptations, the original 1987 series butchers it to hell. And the fact that it's for kids, not 4 kids, but like 4, it's 4 kids. This was way before that thing happened. It's a lot more comedic, and even the turtles have different masks. You know, I can imagine if nerd podcast channels were around this time, they would say stuff like, "Wow, I can't believe people like this new 1987 reboot. So unfaithful to the comics. Why isn't April's hair black? Why isn't she a programmer? Man, I can't watch this trash." Luckily, newspaper websites have archive reviews about old stuff, and I found one for the 1987 series. So let's take a look at what Charles Solomon had to say on the subject. A preview of the first half-hour episode suggests that the 5-part cartoon fails to live up to the promise of its wonderfully absurd name. The designers have softened the bold lines of the comic book figures and made the turtles look like muscular Muppets. An outrageous heroine like Miss Piggy, instead of the whiny newscaster April O'Neil, might have given the show the flair it needs. The series is mildly diverting, but the artists at the Murakami Wolf Sensen studio could have developed the adventures of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles into something funnier or more dramatic. Or both. So yeah, even back then, people were talking about the changes from adaptation to adaptation. Don't get me started about the Teen Titans 2003 series. Whew. Though despite this one guy's review, TMNT went on to become a multimedia franchise with video games, TV shows, movies, and of course a live concert.
Set it free, I'm standing.
In terms of unfaithful reboots, the creators' comments were less about race swaps and more so about origin stories, such as the 2014 Ninja Turtles movie originally having the Turts being an alien race? Peter Laird said it was awful and unnecessary. Changing one of the main words from the title would really gunk up a lot of the lore if the 2014 series got past 2 films, though they quickly changed it back to being mutants. As for the newest reboots, Mutant Mayhem, well, Kevin Eastman has no involvement, he's fine with it, Eastman said, and so that's what I think is special, because I don't want him to feel intimidated or think that if he asks me a question, I tell him, well, you should do this, then he should do that. It's his vision and his idea, and I think that's what's going to be exciting for the fans when they finally see the movie. The fun part about reimaginings is that other people can get a chance to tell their own version of what people already like. To be given a chance to work with a beloved series is an arduous process that takes a lot of time and effort from many people. Not only that, there's a treasure trove of characters, locations, and arcs to pull from. Though there is a fine line of writing with lore in mind, or just writing your own thing entirely, just having the characters in there. If you change too much, it spins off into less of a reboot and more of a what-if story. Marvel did a lot of these back then, such as what if Spider-Man never became a crime fighter, what if the Fantastic Four never gained superpowers, and even what if Dr. Doom became a hero. Of course, these are one-shot comics, but with beloved characters like these, we don't always need a paint-by-the-numbers retelling of the story that we read many years before. That's why a positive I give for Velma is the fact they got rid of most of the canon and just did whatever with it. It's no different than Red Shirt Shaggy not having the gang, or when Shaggy and Scooby-Doo get a clue, it's mainly just Shaggy and Scooby solving mysteries themselves. It's the kind of goofy shit that I like to see happen. In the end, if you or someone online is getting super mad they change April's appearance again, please just touch grass. You know, I'm actually remembering the Black Nerd comedy bits about the race change.
Let's just say what you really feel. You want to fuck April O'Neil in the 80s animated series in the yellow jumpsuit and the boobs, got it.
Also, for what it's worth in this incarnation, April still has orange hair and a yellow jacket. Though I'm sure whatever kid you're sitting next to in the theater watching the film really appreciates the lore dumping of what race April should be, while they're trying to watch the funny turds eat pizza and get hit with ninja weapons.
Oh my god!
Oh my, I'm gonna be sick.
Leo, what happened? Is Donnie bleeding?
It was an accident.
So in saying all that, I'm excited for the new TMNT movie. It's always good to see stylized 3D and movie theaters, like Puss in Boots. I look forward to see what was fun for the new version of the Turts, as the recent version arrives with the shortest animated version, concluding in 2020 with a movie series finale. And so, after the movie, will we go back to a 3D series, or go 2D again? Who's to say? But hold on, okay, if the Turts ever become blue, everything changes. But that's all the time I have for now. You can follow me on Twitter, subscribe to my channel, and join my Patreon for stuff. Until next time, keep on drawing, and please, don't forget to have fantastic.